Today we are going to be talking about how to divide fractions. All right, in our yellow pages we put the following rules for dividing fractions. Our first step is to find the reciprocal of the second fraction, whatever you're dividing by, and then you can multiply the two fractions and simplify. Another way that we wrote this was using the rule stay, switch, flip. All right, the first number stays. Right, so if I had a fraction, the first number stays. The division sign is going to change to multiplication, and I'm going to flip the fraction. So if it started out as 3/4, I'm going to flip it to 4/3, and I'm going to use my multiplication rules. So anytime that I'm dividing fractions, I'm going to change it to a multiplication problem. I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal or stay, switch, flip, which is what we covered in class. All right, so let's take a look at our first problem. So I have a half divided by a fourth. All right, so I am going to change this to a multiplication problem. I'm going to keep the first number the same, a half. I'm going to switch this to multiplication, and I'm going to flip the second number. So 1/4 changes to 4/1. All right, now I'm going to multiply straight across. So 1 times 4 is 4, 2 times 1 is 2, and I'm going to simplify. 4 divided by 2 is 2, which makes sense if I have a half on a ruler and I split it into fourths. I know 2/4 fit in there. All right, good. So there's our first one. Let's look at another one. This time I have -2 divided by 1 1/4. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to improper fraction. So 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5/4. Okay, I'm going to keep my division sign, and I'm going to change this to a fraction by putting it over 1. So now I have -2/1 divided by 5/4. I see it's a division problem, so an easier way to do this is change it to multiplication using my stay, switch, flip rule. All right, now I can multiply. So -2 times 4 is -8. 1 times 5 is 5, so my answer is -8/5. But I'm going to change this to a mixed number. 5 goes into 8 once, with 3/5 left over, and it's negative. All right, let's take a look at a couple story problems. So the first one says, how many 3/4 pound burgers can be made with 12 pounds of hamburger? Okay, so I have 12 pounds, and I want to know how many 3/4 pound burgers can fit in the 12 pounds. All right, whenever I'm trying to fit something into something else, I know it's a division problem. So I'm going to take 12 divided by 3/4. I want to know how many of these 3/4 pound burgers can fit into 12 pounds. All right, I'm going to use my stay, switch, flip rule. Put a 1 under there, so the first number stays. This switches to multiplication, and I'm going to flip this. All right, before I multiply, I remember some of my simplifying rules. I can simplify here. I know 3 divided by 3 is 1. 12 divided by 3 is 4. So now I can multiply. 4 times 4 is 16. 1 times 1 is 1. So my answer is 16 burgers can be made. All right, let's take a look at another one. Okay, let's go to this one. It says a cookie recipe calls for 3½ cups of flour. All right, I need 3½ cups. I'm only making 1/3 of the recipe. All right, I need to know how much flour do I need. Now, there's two ways to think of this problem. If I only need 1/3 of something, I can divide it. So I can take 3½. Okay, I need 1/3, so I'm going to divide it into 3 parts. So I can write this as a division problem divided by 3. 3½, I'm splitting it into 3 parts because I need 1/3. Another way to do this is to think, well, I need 1/3 of 3½. 1/3 of 3½. Another way to think of that is of means multiply. So I'm going to do 3½ times 1/3. This ends up being the exact same problem. No matter what way you do it, you're going to get the same answer. So I'm going to change this top one to improper. So I have 7/2 divided by 3/1. Okay, I'm going to do my rule stay, switch, flip. So this stays, this switches, and this flips. Now I actually have the same problem as over here if I change that to 7/2. It says the exact same thing, so I can multiply. 7 times 1 is 7. 2 times 3 is 6, so my answer is 7/6. I'm going to change that to a mixed number. 6 goes in there once, with 1/6 left over. So I need 1 1/6 cups of flour. All right, so I could do that two ways. I could either multiply or I can divide. It essentially is the same thing. All right, one more serve run. So it says a cereal box contains 20 ounces. So there's 20 ounces in the whole box. I want to know how many 1 1/4 ounce servings are in the box. So again, I want to know how many of these servings fit in this box. All right, so it's a division problem. I'm trying to fit something into something else. So I have 20 servings total. I want to know how many 1 1/4 servings fit in there. So it's division. All right, I'm going to change this to improper right away. So that's 5/4. I'm going to put a 1 underneath here. So I have 20 over 1 divided by 5/4. Okay, I'm going to use my stay, switch, flip rule. So the first number stays. This switches to multiply. And I'm going to flip this. All right, lastly, I'm going to simplify. So 5 goes into 5 once. It goes in here 4 times. And finally, 4 times 4 is 16. 1 times 1 is 1. 16 over 1 is the same as 16 servings. All right, that concludes our dividing fractions lesson.